Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's 1 in the morning, but I couldn't go to sleep before actually sharing what I in this season now believe I'm supposed to share. Not even what I think. Like this is something that I know is supposed to happen. Um, so a couple of days ago, I came across a live stream. Les Brown, who was speaking on Friday night. My man wasn't just speaking, my man was preaching, all right? And he, at the age of 75, said that there was something that he was called to do. And he even started it. He started building the thing. It was called the Greatness Center. He started building the thing before fear set in, doubt set in, and he chose the path of public speaking, motivational speaking, and wanting to travel as opposed to feeling like he'd be bound to what he called a brick and mortar, just a building and serving in the capacity of helping people. Ah, man, helping people who are homeless. Helping individuals who might have been incarcerated, helping them to share their own story. And as he's saying this, I'm like, man, come on, Les, that's that is something very similar to what God has placed on my heart too. And for him at 75 to say, you know what, I'm ready to accept the assignment. It really hit home for me. Not only that, but he broke down crying that Friday evening. The crazy thing is I actually cried too for the first time in 6 years. And this was before I went on the live stream. And wow, it just there was just a chain of events that led me to watching Les Brown. And when he broke down, I realized that I broke down for some of the same reasons. First of all, I broke down because there's a lot of things that I didn't cry for. So, having a good cry obviously is cathartic. It's something that's healthy. But I think for a lot of us, it's not because we're men, we were trained or we were nurtured, cultured not to cry. Nah, I don't think that that's it for a lot of us. For some of us, I could be wrong. It is a normal emotion, but I think for some of us, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to expel all of that. And maybe for those of us who are, those of you who might be similar to me, you have to, in a sense, train yourself to to conjure that emotion up. Like you have to go through the steps, go through the process. And guys, I kid you not, I'm gonna find the email right now. It actually came yesterday, which was Sunday. And it literally, this is from Hillary Jacobs Hendel. She's a great person who deals with the change triangle, and I think her field is in psychology. I haven't looked at any of her blogs recently, but this one says, when you think you need to cry, here's what to do. Listen, it's like everything just lined up, guys. Everything just lined up for this experience to happen. So I go through my good cry. We're talking about 6 years. I never cried over my homelessness. I never cried over broken relationships. I never cried over the transition from moving and not understanding why. I never cried over a lot of different things, some friendships that didn't work out, like all kinds of stuff, right? And Friday, Friday night, yeah, oh man. And the crazy thing is that I wasn't alone. I broke down in the backstage of StreamYard, and my boy Pierre was there watching. Well, I don't know if he was watching, but I knew I was self-conscious that, as I'm trying to like keep it quiet, because focus on the other side of the room, and just like I don't want nobody to ask me what's wrong. So I'm just, kind of trying to do my quiet whimpering. But man, snot, tears, everything just came out. And one of the biggest reasons why, I think one of the biggest reasons why this happened was because I also was believing that there was a shift that was happening. Like the tide was changing, me sitting and waiting and, trying to understand or just at least be faithful in what I'm doing. Everything was starting to shift, guys. I'm about to graduate. I'm technically, the graduation already happened, but graduate with the MBA. My user experience portfolio is about to be built out. Like, I invested, and maybe in a month's time the thing is going to be hot. And so there's things that are moving, and I just know that it's that time. And not only that, but I actually had to preach the next day. And I don't think that I could have preached the message that I preached if I didn't go through what I went through the night before. As I was answering, and I had chosen to answer the call, and what I preached about was it's time to move on, which is crazy, and not necessarily from the standpoint of us moving forward. That's true, but it's when God moves on, it's never too late for you to ask Him to give you another chance. It's never too late. It's not too late, I should say. There is an expiration date, but we don't know when that expiration date is. And I think that it's important for us to keep that in mind and to bear that in mind, guys, that it's not too late to start. Les Brown is 75, guys. 75. Can you imagine that we thought and we believed in, and he has, right? Has had a successful or fulfilling life, being able to instill and to motivate other people. But man, Dr. Emil Peeler said it best. He preached this sermon a long time ago. You were doing the right work, but with the wrong assignment, in the wrong assignment. And so here's what happens, guys. When you decide to answer the call, it looks like something like this. When you get an overwhelming amount of evidence, when you get an overwhelming amount of signs that just build up, especially over the last few days, there's momentum that's happening, and it comes in waves. You might have had this feeling or you might have had this awareness before, and then you try to do something else and then it goes away. And it comes in waves. It just, it comes and goes, it comes and goes. You got to ride the wave. My boy D, he always says that he's riding the wave, but you have to ride the wave, and that's exactly what I'm choosing. So I said, before I go to sleep tonight, I'm gonna go ahead and let's do it. I've been live streaming a lot over the last couple of weeks, so you guys have seen like the sketch of strategy stuff, the brandable minute stuff, all of that, but I haven't really been attacking. I haven't really been answering this. How do you help individuals who've made poor decisions? How do you help individuals or leaders who have misappropriated their gifts or talents for selfish use, and now they've been put in this space where they don't feel as if they can live a meaningful life anymore? How do you help individuals who don't who have made a mistake? It may not even have been intentional, but they fell down, and it's like, I can't, I don't know how to move forward. How do you transition individuals from shame to honor? And you do that by reframing their story. It's a lot of the stuff that he was talking about. You know what, as much as I knew or knew about Les Brown, I didn't know that he was from Miami. I didn't know that he was adopted. I didn't know that he was, he had that kind of like Liberty City. Like, I didn't know that he was a few miles away from me. And he had wow, an amazing journey. And at 75 now, he's like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and start the Greatness Center again. He says it no longer has to be brick and mortar. It can now be click and order. and if you go to his website right now, it's just a landing page with a PayPal link. Like, I think it's his personal PayPal link, so that people can start donating. But he's starting over. But he's starting over simple. He's starting over as agile as possible, so that he can just get the thing done. Listen, guys, he went ahead and he streamed again tonight. And this is, I think, what the straw that broke the camel's back for me is he streamed again tonight. And well, not tonight, but today at 10 o'clock Sunday, because on Friday night he said, listen, he worked out. He worked out the answering to his call, and in a sense, he was holding himself accountable. And that's what I'm doing right now as well. He said, you know what? I'm going to start this Sunday. And then he was like, I think I'm going to do 2 o'clock. I know folk go to church, and so I don't want them to, but then he towards the end said, no, I'm going to do it at 10. I'm going to do it at 10 in the morning. This is for people who, if you got to go to church, cool. This ain't for you. There's a message that others need to hear. So if the 15% are the churchgoers, and they're going virtually or whatnot, that's cool. But I'm looking for the other majority who are coming. And I really had to say other majority because I couldn't figure out what was 15 minus 100 just now. Like, forgive me, it was like 85, right? There are other 85% who were just like coming in and need this word. And he said it himself, to help them to tell their story. And I was like, man, that's if guys, if that's not a sign, I believe with all my heart that that's exactly what God will do for you. He will set it up with a chain of events, serendipitous moments, synchronicity, coincidence, whatever you want to call it, and it will resonate. It will speak so loud to you where you have to ask yourself, what do I do with this? And you know what you do? My boy Anthony said it today to me because I told him, and now he's telling me what I told him. What's in your hand? You share the only thing that you have with as much people as you can. I think that's the very thing that won't make you feel overwhelmed. I think that's the thing that won't make you feel like you're not capable. You already have the gift. The gift has already been given to you, guys. It's already been given to you. And so now the question is, what are you going to do with that thing? You know, I can write. I know how to write. And as excruciating as it is, and the pieces come out pretty impressive, that's not truly what the passion is. It's doing this right here. Now, if I did the writing with that in mind, that'd be one thing. But I've been writing about business, marketing, leadership, design. I've been writing about a lot of things, but I haven't really been digging out and talking about this. And even when I did, it was like behind a paywall. It was behind you got to sign up to get this. I made everything else free except for the very gift, the thing that came natural to me. That was the thing that I kind of hid behind a landing page, and you had to do something in order to actually get the value. But everything else was free. I was running around. I was running around the thing that was prevailing, the prevailing thought, which was, listen, your mission, at least right now, your purpose is to help individuals who went through something like you went through. And for the longest, man, I've been so I've been worried, I've been concerned, I've been, has my credibility been shot? Am I irrelevant? Actually, one of the greatest fears that I have right now, and that's one of the reasons why I had to get off Facebook, y'all. There's a few reasons. I got off around the time of George Floyd's death, and there's just a lot that was going on, But one of the biggest things was the comparison. Ah, man, comparison. We know this, the comparison trap, where you start to wonder, especially with the people that you went to school with, the people that you graduated, when you graduated, were still in school, maybe even starting, and it feels and it looks and it tastes and it smells like they are light years ahead of you. And you're just like, really? We still here? And the greatest fear that I had was, dang, homie, back then used to be the man, homie. Like that was is the prevailing, like, just fear, like I don't want to be that person where it's like, man, he had so much potential. What happened to him? And so the reason why that could happen, the reason why that might have been happening is because I wasn't embracing the things that were right in front of me. I was doing everything else, but I wasn't doing the obvious call. I wasn't answering the obvious call. So, that's where we are right now, guys. So how do you answer the call? You do it like this. If there's this prevailing thought, if you are now in this season where everything seems to align, God is just setting it up for you, bah, 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 and it's almost as if you have no uh, uh, there is no doubt in your mind that it's not coincidence. This thing has been divinely ordered. Then you pick up the thing that you know that you're good at doing. You pick up the thing that you're gifted in, whether if it's a microphone, if it's a pen, if it's a paintbrush, if it's a soundboard, if it's uh, Logic Pro. Back then, it was used to be Fruity Loops. Whether if it's a camera, whether if it's I don't know, popsicle sticks for those who are, crafty with arts and crafts, like whether if it's, I don't know, guys, anything, food, recipes, whatever it is. I'm challenging you. For those of you that are up right now, tonight, I'm challenging you. Go ahead. Maybe the reason why you're up right now is because the thing is prevailing. It's bothering you and you can't even go to sleep. So go ahead and handle it. Go ahead and produce the thing. So here's the thing. I have no idea. I guess this is kind of like an intro because I have nothing planned for tonight. This is really just, I guess, the what Pierre would call the clarion call to just let people know I'm out here. Hold me accountable. This is something that I'm doing. We don't know what it looks like. I know that it's going to be the Anti-Hero Clinic. As a matter of fact, 5 minutes before I got on here to hold myself accountable, I went ahead and repurchased the domain. Like, I'm like, okay, and that's money. That's money right there, So do the thing that's gonna that you have to invest, right? You have to stay invested in this thing. You got to hold yourself accountable. This gonna, like, guys, I got a curriculum set up already. Tonight is not about that. Tonight is letting you know. Tonight is letting myself know that this is what happens. This is where it begins. It begins right now, where there's only like two people, one person that's watching right now, and it doesn't matter. You got to hold yourself accountable. So there's a few steps. I wouldn't really want to get into that, but why not? Let's do it. So the first step is you got to embrace and be aware that this thing, this call is still a viable reality. It's not too late. As a matter of fact, um, Pierre Quinn, Miguel Saran, and myself, we were going through the process of what it means to begin again in our worship and word experience that we have every Friday night. And so put that in, I think, on Facebook, worship and word, and check that out. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go through that whole process. What I will say is that right now, what you need to do, especially if you're up, if you maybe see this right now at 1:15 in the morning, or you may see this at work, I'm not sure where you're going to see it. The whole point is this: at some point, you have to be aware that this is happening. You have to be aware that what happened to me over the weekend is something that happens to you. Like there's this chain of events that is undeniable, that has been orchestrated, it's been choreographed for you to say, once again, one of two things: yes or no. That's the first thing. The second thing, and I'm just going off the top right now because this is kind of how it worked out for me. The second thing is you're probably going to wonder, okay, all right, God, you showed this to me again. What do I do? How do I work this out? He'll show you. So, like I said, even though I finished the UX certification and I actually am on my way to finishing the MBA, there's some other things that have been developing. And like, hi God, what does this mean? Do I take all of this stuff that I've been working towards and throw it away? He made it very clear. Nope, you're going to be using all of those things, not all at the same time, but eventually it'll all culminate. It'll all come together. But right now, I need you to do this. I need you to work on the portfolio piece. That may not be for the six-figure job right now. That ain't what I called you for. At least not yet, and at least not the way that you envision it. I didn't call you to have traditional employment, at least not right now. And that may come when the time comes. But right now, there's some things that I need you to do that's going to cause you to realize, it was only me. Um, for a lot of you that's out there, that probably is a scary thing. Not because you might have an entrepreneurial mindset, but because you know that it's easier for you. It's easier for you to build something than to get a job. But if you really wanted to, you could get it. Like you have all of the skill sets, and people probably tell you this all the time. Yeah, I see you in this position. Yeah, you can do it. But yet there's something that's been prevailing that's telling you, I know I can go this way, but there's something that's causing me, someone, and you got to know that it's a someone that's pulling me to do something differently. Follow it. Now, for other people, it could be other things, but I know for me, employment was the hugest one. Why was I always staying in the self-employed track? Why was I always trying to go on the entrepreneurial route when it felt like for years things weren't just taking off the way that I wanted it to take off? But yet every time I chose to quit, every time I was going to pull a plug, a new project came just in time with just enough funding to keep me afloat. And I think it was for a very, very particular reason. Um, that's probably for another day, for another time. But the point is, you got to be patient with yourself. You got to be patient with God. Well, God is actually patient with us. It's the other way around. But that's the first thing, right? You got to embrace it. Embrace the wave of orchestrated events that are happening. Okay, that's number one. Number two, and this is actually what happened to me, right? So after I broke down, it's like, oh man, I'm crying for everything, guys, like everything. I was also crying for the shift that was happening. I knew it was like this wave of excitement, but it was very sober because I said, okay, yeah, I get it. Things are going to change. The next thing that you need to do is you need to declare it. So for me, that was on Saturday. Saturday, I actually ended up preaching, and I actually preached a message of moving on. So you may not have a church. I don't have a church. Like, I'm not a pastor, but the point is, you may have a group of people that you can declare the season has shifted. And here's what I ended up doing, guys. I actually told some of my closest friends, some of my closest guys, like, yo, listen, man, last night I broke down for the first time. And it's interesting that I had to say that because I was in one of our groups. That was one of the questions that we got to ask. And I was like, bro, 2014 was the last time, man. Like I haven't broke down since then. And I'm a super logical person. The only time I cried was when I saw the movie Selma and I couldn't understand how much hate for people who never did anything, and my brain just couldn't process it. Friday night was not about processing, guys. Friday night was everything that I bottled up and suppressed and didn't deal with, and it just came out through all everything, like just all the orifices of my face is just all drained out. So after you are aware that God is setting this thing up for you to be to for you to say your yes or your no to what he's already called you to do, maybe for years. I told you again, Les Brown 75, my man has had a successful life, and he's like, you know what, I'm finally going to answer the call to create the greatness center. And it's crazy, man. After today, after he streamed, he broke down crying, but in joy, like, I did it. This was the first one. I did it. Journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Like, I did it. And that's what really got, pushed me over. I was like, okay, I got to do this now. I got to do this. So that's the second one. The second one is make the declaration. You might make it to your closest friends. You might even do it the way I'm doing it right now. That's what Les did. But you have to find the platform. Maybe you do it for yourself in the beginning. You look in the mirror and you say, I'm going to do this thing. All right. Here's what's going to happen. The next day is going to come and you're not going to feel as excited. Sunday's going to come and you're going to be like, I don't know. I'm aware that God set this thing up for me. I declared that, okay, I'm moving forward. The season has shifted. But Sunday's going to hit. You're going to wake up. The emotions are going to leave. And you are going to feel like, I don't know, maybe I was a little bit too, maybe I got carried away. I need to be a little bit more realistic with my life. There's no way that right now I can do what he's calling me to do. Like, there's no way. Like, there's too many priorities. There's too many things in place. Too many responsibilities. There's no way right now that I can do this thing. Now, now's the time to do it. So this is where and you hear all of these things in the past, faith over feelings, but that's really what it is. You now have to choose. You have to make the concerted effort. You have to make the choice that even though you no longer feel the way that you did the day before, after even declaring it, you got to commit to it. Okay, you got to commit. So and after you commit, that's the mental shift. You declared it. That's part of the shift, but then you have to say, okay, what's the I'm going to commit. What's the easiest way to make this happen? Do you know what the easiest way for me is, guys? It's not to write as good as I might be able to write. It's to do this. It's to actually go on live, and there's no takebacks. There's no rewind button. There's no editing. And I just have to do this thing. I have to speak it and I have to share it. Is there a delete button? Yeah, there's a delete button, but it's a little bit more challenging for me to say something like this and to begin this thing and then to just delete it, knowing that it's going to help somebody else. So I think that's the third or maybe the fourth thing is you want to, whatever you're doing, you want to do it in such a way as easy as possible, right? The gift it's already there. It's been cultivated. You want to do the thing that somehow is going to help somebody else, even if it's with the declaration. It's going to prevent you from always deleting things. Guys, I'm like the delete master of maybe almost every social media that I can think of. And I've realized that I've always had this propensity to just start over and over and over, because I might not have thought that I had that much value to the things that I have been posting. Not that they were wrong, not that they were inappropriate, but the point is, I don't think that they were that valuable. And you may not think that it's that valuable if you're not following in the path, if you're not answering the call that's allowing you to speak and to operate out of those things. Guys, that's how come I'm on Facebook right now. I deactivated my joint for like 7 months. And so I am pretty certain I'm gonna come back. I think it's gonna be in a different capacity. The best way that I probably might respond to things is maybe through direct message. It's probably not going to be like going through all of the comments and all of that. When that time gets there, it ain't happening right now. I might got like 2 people, like, hey, good job, but outside of that, you have to maintain your own, your threshold. You know your threshold. For a lot of us, we can get sucked in, tied into the threads, tied into comments, tied into the what we call the micro expressions, and it'll just suck up your time, and I didn't think that it would, but one of the biggest things that I think that got me was that when you connect with old friends, or at least you try to, or the overwhelming feeling that you have connected with them but you haven't really talked to them yet. And I remember before I left, I was telling a few people like, hey, listen, man, I still want to be able for us to connect, and this is why I came back on, da 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 da. And I just couldn't keep up. So you know yourself, but the whole point is this, guys. The point is, once you are aware, God is going to make it. He is going to. It's going to happen in waves. It's going to happen in waves. It Sometimes the season of awareness of intention is longer than others. But when it is, that's when you got to make the decision to say, okay, yes, I'm going to do it. When you say yes, that's you answering the call, or at least that's you hearing it. Because sometimes it's been ringing loudly all this time, right? But now he's made it louder for you to hear it so that you can actually say yes. Now, when you do decide to say yes, you have to declare it, even if it's just for yourself, even if it's just to yourself. But you have to say, okay, I'm moving forward with this, no matter what that means. And then you're going to have the worry, the frustration of like, well, what does that mean for the things that I've done before? That doesn't mean that you drop everything. I think it's very, I want to say rare, but it probably is rare that he's going to have you turn away from everything that you're doing right now, as opposed to you having cultivated and built those skills. There's no way that, because of the life plan that I've already set up, prayerfully set up, as I'm looking at that and seeing where I am, and then the shift that's happening, it's all adding up. He's not throwing away my master's degree. He's not throwing away my design experience. That stuff is going to fit right in. Now, my issue is I'm trying to figure out how, when, where. That's not what I'm called to do. I'm called to be the best in the things that he's called me, that I've been in. And then from there, he will make sure to piece it all together. All right. So after you declare that thing, you find the easiest point of entry. That's it. With the gift, the easiest point of entry right now for me, it's speaking. It's speaking. Like I can take this, and then if I wanted to, I can then write about it. I can find the research for the stuff that I'm talking about and back it up with research, like reverse engineer the whole thing. I can do that. But right now, it's easier for me to just go ahead, throw the computer on, throw up the lights, and just go. Like it's easier for me to just share something of value with you that way. And then the last thing is to be consistent. That's it. That's it, guys. To be consistent. Like, I expect every Sunday at 10 a.m. Les Brown to show up with the Greatness Center. Like, that's it. And it's so crazy, right? Because we're thinking, or at least he was thinking, it's something that has to be a building. Well, he's not purchasing any property or buying anything out, at least not right now during this season. He said, I'm starting right now with what I have. And it's crazy. Like, if you guys don't know Les Brown, he's like in the top 5, arguably the top 5, top 10 for sure. But I'm sure he's still in the top 5 of best speakers in the world, right? So you're talking about a man who just has a camera on and says, I'm building a center with a virtual background behind him. And he's just going in like, so it's possible, guys. You start with what you have. For him, it was his voice. It is his voice. My man is almost 80 years old, right? So it's not too late. It's not too late, guys. This isn't going to be too long. I guess for me, this is just a way of letting you know that, yeah, just like it's almost like I saw how it was done, and now I'm doing it in almost the exact, not even almost, in like the exact same way. Guys, I'm answering the call, man. That's it. We're gonna move forward with this thing, So yeah, it's 1:30 in the morning. For those of you that are still awake, for those of you that have trouble sleeping, it probably is because you're not okay with where you are right now. You're not comfortable. You feel frustrated. I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure what it is, but what I do know is that if it has anything to do with your purpose, if it has anything to do with your calling, I'll tell you this right now. You don't have to stress over trying to find your calling. Your calling will always find you. It found me again this weekend. Like this weekend. This weekend was the weekend. And I don't think that I would have fully embraced it if I didn't physically release all of the pain through just crying it out. And after that, I was ready to move on. So guys, I and move forward. So I'm looking forward to yeah, to what this is gonna look like. And I'm sure we'll have more information that's gonna come up so that you guys can be part of this process with me. And it's a journey. It's a journey. I'm ready for it. And after a while too, here's the last thing, I guess. After a while too, when you are connected and you start to feel the shift. I don't know if y'all know this, but you start to feel the shift when you've been connected with individuals, connected with friends who've been in the same place as you. It's like, man, I'm not sure what direction, and you all are kind of figuring out together, right? Like all y'all are figuring it out together, and then one by one, it's not that they necessarily figured it out, but they've made the decision, they made the conscious effort to say, okay, I don't have all of the pieces, but I got enough. Pew, I'm ready to go. And so one just walks away, or steps up, and another one steps up, and another one steps up. Let me tell you how people have been stepping up. And this has been happening over the last couple of years, but especially recently. People have been stepping up in my life by actually producing something, especially something of value, like a book or, a conference or something that it's not just the fact that they did it, but it's something that they've created that other people will benefit from because it was part of their journey. And so now that they're building these things and stepping up, eventually, if you're not careful, you're gonna look around and you're gonna be in the same place. And you might be looking up, and the conversations, man, let's talk about this today. The conversations are gonna be different. They're not gonna be talking about struggling and try to figure out. That's not gonna be their issue anymore. That's still gonna be your issue. Now they're trying to figure out how to sustain and how to build on and how to grow. And you're just there by yourself trying to figure it out. So listen, guys, I don't want to be by myself. I don't want to be the person who's trying to still, figure it out. And here's the other thing too. I got a lot of other things apparently. The other thing is this. There is a season in your life where isolation is necessary. It's not forever, but isolation is necessary because there's some things that are in you that can only come out when you are under some kind of pressure, especially when it's by yourself, to draw those things out. Oftentimes, I can't remember the preacher that said it, but that's the only way that God can draw some of those things out is going through a season of isolation, going through it by yourself, but not forever, because you can't grow by yourself. You can't build something that is bigger than you by yourself. It'll crush you. You have to have other people that are underneath the thing with you, and pushing it up and supporting that thing even while they're supporting you. And so, yeah, there is a time, there's a season for that. So the flip side is, don't think that just because you're now looking around and you're by yourself, that means that you aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. Sometimes that is necessary. Some of us are too dependent on friends or family. And God will put us in a place where it's just us and Him. But you got to know the difference. And I believe it with all my heart. He's going to show you. He's going to show you exactly where you need to be. All right. And when He does that, you then have to answer the call. Yes, I'm going to go through the season of isolation, or yes, I'm going to now go ahead and step up and use just the very thing that's in my possession that He's already given me, maybe even from since birth. Like, I'm going to use those things and I'm going to just share it with other people, guys. All right. So be aware. You be aware by it's almost as if you can't say, okay, I'm going to be aware. The awareness just happens. But you have to kind of choose to know when you are aware of it. Sometimes we are aware of it and then we just shut it out. No, you have to embrace that you are aware of this thing. Be aware of the calling that He's already placed over you and that it's going to happen, right? That's the first thing. There's an assignment in your life. Some of us have multiple, but oftentimes they're all kind of the same, just in different ways, different flavors, different methods. But there's an assignment that's over your life. That's the first thing, right? You got to be aware of that. Once you're aware of it, you got to answer it. Say yes. Okay. What's next? He will show you what's next. And usually the thing that's next is taking what you've already cultivated during the season of isolation, you already cultivated during the season of waiting, that you've already built on, that you've already worked on. Look back in your life and try to figure that out. And then Use that to share. Use it to share it with somebody else. Make it so simple, guys. If you know how to cook, then cook something and share it with somebody else. And like, don't think that it has to be something that's so complicated. Like, it's so simple. You've already done the work. Now just find the thing that's easy to do, that thing being the gift, and share it. That's what I probably forgot to say before being consistent. Share it, right? So after you're aware, after you answer the call, you make the declaration, then you share it. Sometimes the declaration is the sharing. Awareness, answer. Uh, Looking for another A word here, but you got to declare it, and then you share it. And then you got to consistently share it. All right. You got to be consistent. All right, guys, that's it. And so I hope that this was valuable to you. By all means, I guess that means I gotta commit. I gotta stay on Facebook at least for a little bit. And I'll definitely be looking out for any feedback. But most likely, if you really do, man, hit me up in the DMs. Like that's probably going to be the best way, because I'm going to try my best not to, like, with notifications and stuff. Yeah, try my best to kind of control that. But hey, whatever's comfortable for you guys, I guess, as a user experience designer, you're supposed to do what the people are comfortable with. So that's what we're gonna do, right? Yeah, and we'll see you in the next one.